Hello, welcome to this new video, Introduction to PHP, a server-side scripting language. There are various programming languages that offer support for backend programming and also backend development. And some of them is JavaScript, Node, or JavaScript. By JavaScript, I'm referring to Node.js, Python, Java, Ruby, C#, and Perl. And PHP is the guy of the moment. PHP supports or allows support for backend development and backend programming. And in this video, I'm going to take us through a brief overview about PHP and why we should consider using it. So by definition, PHP represents hypertext preprocessor language, and it's a widely used open source scripting language specifically designed for web development. It's a server-side scripting language, meaning that it runs on the web server and processes the script before sending the output to the client, which is the web browser. For the explanation about this, I need to explain the term server and client, and because these are fundamental concepts that we would come across as a programmer or as a developer. So a server is a computer or system that provides services or resources to other computers, known as clients, over a network. A client is a computer or device that requires services or resources from a server over a network. In the context of web development, a server typically refers to a web server, right? And a web server is a specialized server that stores and delivers web content in response to client requests. And in terms of web development, a client is often a web browser like Chrome, Firefox, or Safari running on a user's device, such as a computer or a smartphone. In the next illustration, we would get a clearer view of what a server and a client is. So for example, we have a workstation. This could be your Mac, a computer, or PC. It makes a request to the internet. And this place, the internet, is the browser, which sends a request to the server. The server in turn sends the response back to the browser, which in turn sends this request back to your device. It's made visible on your device. Same thing goes for smartphone and laptop. It is very important to understand the distinction between server and client, because it is the fundamental of web applications in general. And so I don't want to bore you with that few basics I just explained, and I will take us through to the most important part, which is the purpose of PHP. So PHP is primarily used for server-side scripting to create dynamic web pages, and that's its basic use. And it enables the development of an interactive dynamic website by embedding PHP code within HTML. And PHP is actually designed for the web, and that makes it king, in particular sense to PHP developers. I don't mean to start a war. PHP is tailored for the web development tasks such as generating dynamic content, handling forms, managing sessions, and interacting with databases. It is versatile and it can be embedded within HTML code seamlessly. Right, and one other good thing about PHP is that it is open source and widely used. So by open source, we mean that PHP source code is made available to the public for free usage. Like the public could actually access it and use it for free and also contribute to it. Its open nature has led to a large and active community of developers contributing to its popularity, and PHP is one of the most widely used server-side scripting languages for the web development. And also, I'd also add that it is quite simpler to learn as compared to other back-end languages. One other thing is PHP is cross-platform compatible, and so this means that PHP is independent, meaning it runs on various operating systems, including Windows, Linux, macOS, and others, whatever operating system you might have. So this cross-platform compatibility makes it accessible and adaptable to different server environments, which is a good thing. All right, and One other thing about PHP is that it's easy to integrate with HTML, and it does that seamlessly. So this integration simplifies the process of creating dynamic content, as PHP code can be embedded directly into HTML files. Now, if you don't know what HTML files is, this is the wrong video to watch. Actually, I think you should actually refer to some previous video about HTML, because that is the basics. Support for various databases, and this is my most favorite part. PHP support a wide range of databases, including MySQL, PostgreSQL, SQLite, and others. And this database support is crucial for developing dynamic web applications that require interaction with the backend database. All right, I need you to see a database as a place where you store information. Now, in a programming language, let's get the concept clear. So you have a client, which is your browser, sends a request to the server. The server picks this information, this information you've stored in a database, and then process this database, sends it back to the server. The server sends it back to your client, which is your browser. And now, this database could be different type, and there are a lot of them, and each of these databases has the advantage and disadvantage. There are MySQL, like I mentioned before, PostgreSQL, and SQLite. And now you might wonder, why do we have different type of databases? The different type of databases we have all comes with your requirement and usage. SQLite could be, as the name implies, it could be your go-to database of choice if you consider something lightweight that can store small data, and you're only interested in working with minimal data at most. But MySQL supports a wide variety of them, and that is just one of the examples. There are various examples. MySQL support a wide variety of functions and methods and queries, and same thing with PostgreSQL. And all of this databases are advanced, and you just get to use them based on your requirements. And now imagine that if you have the skill to use MySQL or SQLite or PostgreSQL, one of your concerns is the language of choice should also have support for this database, because if it don't, you probably won't be able to use your favorite database to connect with your backend programming language. And don't worry if I sound confusing, I just needed to drop that ball, and it will all make sense. So I'm going to write on to some of the advantages and features or overview of PHP in the next slide, which is the extensive library support. PHP has free support for libraries and extensions that simplify common tasks such as handling XML, processing images, and connecting to external servers. And this is really great. Processing images, I want you to see things like with PHP, you could do fancy things like make an image transparent. You could add a blend color to an image. You could, make an image transparent, you could remove the background from an image. It has this extensive library called GB library, which is built in PHP and has also some Linux command and Linux support, but it has a PHP library of its own, and that's crazy. And I also want you to think of it this way: almost every code you think of implementing as a third-party service already have, or probably have, a library out there that's already been built by other guys, and all you just have to do is just use. I needed to think of, you build a website and you want to integrate a Stripe payment platform into it. All you have to do is to go to the Google and search for Stripe PHP library, and then you're going to see some. Now, most of those big companies like Stripe, PayPal, and Facebook have what is called an SDK. And so this SDK, it's already built PHP code. It doesn't give you license to the code or property right to the code, but it gives you rights to use it in your project, and do your thing. So say, for example, you want to set up a payment from Stripe, all you have to do is to plug and play, use the functions or methods or whatever publicly accessible code you have right there in the SDK, and get things done as quickly as possible. Or you write yours from scratch that works with the Stripe API. And well, all this is going to make sense, I show you that, in terms of library and support, PHP is robust. there are different type. There is Symfony, there is Cake PHP, there is Coordinator, there is Laravel. I can't just think of a lot, but there is even Foundation by Zob. But with time, all of this would make sense, and we would expose us to these libraries, these amazing libraries and frameworks PHP has, and why it makes PHP this powerful, and why we're talking about it, and why we're going to learn it. One of the other things I like to speak about with PHP, which is my most important, and which is also an ambiguous subject, is security feature. PHP is widely secure, and it's, should I say widely or fairly, whatever, but PHP incorporates with various security features to help developers build secure application, and that's what matters. It provides functions for data validation, input sanitization, and protection against common web vulnerabilities. And also PHP is often updated with the latest PHP release, which is crucial for leveraging security improvements. So what I mean in this last bullet point I just say is that if you check your iPhone, for example, you'd see there is a latest iOS version released, probably in version 16, I think. And iPhone would recommend that you update your iPhone to this OS as soon as it's released, and they tell you because of security vulnerabilities. And sometimes when you check part of what should I say, the announcement they make while releasing this or the feature they make while releasing this new OS build, they tell you they made some security fixes. And now, because with time, hackers, programmers, not programmers actually, hackers kind of like get into the system and find vulnerabilities and try to hack them. And then when the iOS company, Apple company, figure this out, they try to block it. And so with the constant release of new updates, they're able to stay ahead of the curve, ahead of the smart guys, these hackers, and protect their user data. And that's the reason you get most of those updates. Most of the updates could also be design updates or a new feature added to your iPhone, or whatever it is. But most of the time, it's basically a security feature, and you get that on your Windows as well and any other devices. That same concept comes along with PHP. It's a backend programming language, and there are new ways to attack websites built on PHP coming up, by different hackers who find vulnerabilities at all costs. So PHP releases new version very often, and this in turn prevents these bad guys from getting into your websites. And what I mean by validation and input sanitization is that when a user enters an input into our website, for example, which we're going to start building in future series of this video, would see that users could actually hack into our website if we're not careful. So we need to sanitize, we need to validate, we need to cross-check that this information they're trying to enter into our website, when they say they're filling their email address, are they really filling the email, or are they trying to hack us, or are they trying to enter some SQL injection code to get our data and do some bad things with it? So those are the things we would consider, and PHP offers this functions or features out of the box for us, so we would worry less about it. And that's something nice, and that's something good about PHP. In terms of security feature, it is very important for me to also say right here that it is quite ambiguous. Some people say security is a myth. It's something it's like a relic, chasing after your own self, or a ghost you never catch. But the concept is that the security of a language, framework, or whatever thing is based on your own implementation and experience, especially your exposure to things. I mean, I've been working in a corporate world for so long, and I've seen more concerns about server protection than and also code protection than someone who hasn't. And so in server protection, that is another thing, another topic. How secure is your server in the first place? Like, is your server a go-to? Is your server a loophole? Are you setting the correct HTTPS and the correct user permissions and user rights or not? before we talk about your code, the validation, are you using a framework? How updated is this framework? And so we don't want to say a particular framework is very secure or not. We don't also want to say PHP is very secure or not, because I could give you for sure that PHP is secure, and then you, because of, Emmanuel said this, because of the tech bro said this, and then you go on using these functions without properly checking them, and then your content get hacked or your site get hacked, and then I'm not going to be held responsible for that. But the concept of it is we can always try our best to stay on the curve by updating our frameworks and softwares every year and then. All right. But we can also do our basic minimal to make sure our websites and server are secure. And that's what really counts, so that even if there's hackers trying to get into our sites, they get locked out in so many ways, or they get a limited amount of information or a useless information they can't just do anything with. So that's a lot. And in this future scene of this video, I'm going to explain security, because I could go on talking about security on and on and on, and digging through this rabbit hole to tell us what security is truly is and should be. But that, of course, would still remain my concept because it's ambiguous. I'll tell you that a Node guy will come and tell you a thing about security and you'll be wild, and same thing goes to Java and C#, especially those working in enterprise structures who has faced severe attacks on their server. And trust me, in those moments it's like war. I don't need to bore you with all of these things, but I hope I got you excited to move on to the next video, which we are going to be getting started to rock and get our hands dirty with PHP. All right, so see you on the next video. Don't snooze off. Right, these are the basics. If I could skip this particular section I just did, all this ranting, 16 to 17 minutes of me speaking breathlessly non-stop, I would, but we can't skip this basic education about these things. And one of my key advice is don't get bored, don't get frustrated about it. It takes time, but definitely you come to it. And if nothing I said makes sense to you, and if I'm speaking too fast, please go back, play the video slowly. I think VLC player or YouTube, whatever player you're using to watch this video, has a slow motion option for it. Please play the video slowly, and if I'm too fast, you could also give me a comment on the section, and I'll be slower in my next video, right? But if I'm not fast and you get what I'm trying to say, fine, thumbs up. If you don't, and I'm slow, and you still don't get what I'm trying to say, it's fine. And I believe that's the process of learning. I believe the first stage of learning is getting confused, and then the second stage is you're trying to crack on and rack on and trying to make this make sense, and the third stage is you are assimilating, and the final stage is you getting to completely know these things. I always tell people I'm fortunate to mentor about programming that it takes time. I want you to see the fact that we are referring to this thing as a programming language. We're not saying it's a speech or a text or a grammatical word. It's a programming language. And I need you to compare that as someone who would probably learn a new language like Japanese or Chinese, or a Nigerian language like Igbo or Yoruba. Now just imagine the time it takes you to learn this new language. From my experiences, it took me probably like 10 to 11 years to learn Igbo, even though I stayed in the East and I stayed in Nigeria for quite a long time. Now it took me that long to learn that part of it, and it's that crazy, and I'm still not fluent in it. And so what this means is that if you think about how long it takes you to learn a new language, you also have to be patient. Now, I'm not saying for a fact that you have to take 11 years because this basically is different from a spoken language, right? But it revolves around that concept. I'm saying give or take 2 months. Yes, of course, we should know what we're doing, but I'm not saying there's a cap towards it. I'm saying take your time, check some words. When I explain the concept between server side and client side and you don't understand this thing, go to Google and try to learn more. There are a lot of information right there. Or ask me question. Disturb me in the comment section, and I'm going to try my best to explain these things in depth more. But if you don't, it's going to be a concept and it's going to be a mirage. It's going to be unclear to you, and you would not get the concept of this. and you're going to move on to the next section with a lot of unclarity, and that's a problem. And when I advance, and when I speak about client side and server side, for example, and when I speak about vulnerabilities, sanitization, data validations, and I expect that you know about this concept and you don't, and it's gonna be a drag, because I'm still gonna be sounding foreign thereafter. I'm gonna be sounding foreign in all the sections of the video. Like, what hell is it talking about vulnerabilities and sanitization? Where did that word come from? So if this doesn't make sense to you, please try to do some Googling and research, and I'm very sure you'll be happy you did. All right. Thank you for watching this video. I've been talking about this key concept. Like I said, stay in touch. In the next video, we would continue. See you in the next section of the video, where we'll be getting the tools we need to get started. Bye.